I could be on a beach, couldn't I? A shingle beach. No, this is the nature reserve where we often walk together, you and I, and Sir Barkalot. It's just the bit behind the canal, as it were. Now, let me get a sketchbook picture to start the show. Normally, I'm not very keen on telegraph poles, but I like this bit because as I walk along the path, Barnes, don't walk into the shot. Oh, hang on a minute. Let's go forward a bit. As we walk into this part of the path, you're just going to have to have a dog in the shot. I've got telegraph poles converging and one right in the middle. 1, 2, 3. Barnes, this way. That's better. If we're going to get you in the shot, F4, 1400 shutter speed, 160 ISO. Let's have you at least looking at me.
And the story with photography is that my dad was a paleontologist. And he worked for the U.S. Geological Survey, which is a branch of the U.S. government. And we would get National Geographic photographers in our house, like staying the night all the time.
Amazing.
Because they would come and they would have to ask permission to go take pictures in places that are government land. Yeah. And my dad somehow was in charge of that program. My dad was the Indiana Jones of paleontology.
That's Bil Repenning. We haven't done a guest check for a little while, so let me run through, before I tell you about Bill, some of the guests chalked up to talk with us. Joseph Rodriguez, the New York photographer who used to drive a cab. I've talked a bit about him. A lot of his early pictures come from nights doing that, driving his yellow cab. Gritty, amazing work. He'll be on the show. Matt Jacobs. Now, we've had a Matt Jacob chat on the Extra Mile, but this is a different one with an S on the end. An adventurer of the seas and actually the deserts more latterly. So that should be revealing. And then Gail Hilliard, who I met in Scotland on the second week of the retreat this year. Now, where do I even start with this simply wonderful artist and photographer and writer? Someone who's retreated to Scottish islands to make the most wonderful work in the midst of harsh and beautiful wild winters. And then we got talking because she just returned from a particular kind of retreat where I think it's for almost about a week, or maybe it is a week, you don't utter a single word. Things happen to the mind when you're with other people but can't speak to them. And I'm fascinated by it. So stories from the yellow cabs of New York in the heady, gritty days prior to the clean-up in many ways. Swimming with sharks. And I suppose vows of silence. And then today, Bil Repenning. Now, Bill is one of our amazing extra milers who are the very support of this show. You really are. Without you, we would not have a show. Every Friday, we have a special show on the Extra Mile where I talk with our community. And today, there goes a Pinstriped Express. Right on time. 7:30. And today, I want to bring Bill across from there, meaning the Extra Mile, to here on the Photowalk, so you can hear what incredible creative people we have in our amazing community. I like to think we have a real plethora of different guests on this show. I mean, only last week, a champion jockey who makes photographs, and soon, I hope, a rock star amongst those names. Someone still gigging. Is it Brian Adams, Neil? Is it Brian? Is it Brian? Is it Brian Adams? No, it's not. Although he does still owe me 20 quid, as you know. He's a darn fine photographer, and one day, I would love to have him on the show. But Bill, however, is a musician. As you'll find out today, as well as a photographer, a creative and a thinker. We go on a real meander, we do, with our conversation through music and creativity. And we also have, as my friend and our friend, Mally of the Trees, you know Mally, as he'd call it, we have a real jangle about the nostalgia of American radio in particular. And, I just wanted you to meet him as well.
Today on the Photowalk.
I just don't know how you have a conversation with famous musicians without Freddie Mercury. I don't know that we would have music that we have today without him. So I said to my family, I want a camera for Christmas. This is all that I want. Just get me that. And they bought me a Polaroid. I played with it for a little while and I said, hey, how do I get my pictures to look like that National Geographic guy? 5 years ago, I slipped on some black ice and broke my wrist. And I've not been able to play guitar very well since. I can play maybe about 3 songs and then I just completely lose feeling in my left hand. And I was pretty down. I was pretty, I guess it's fair to say, depressed. He, while being a master of sorts, though I guess he wouldn't say he was, being able to see that he still struggles like the rest of us is intoxicating. That's beautiful. Why doesn't everybody understand how beautiful photography is?
That's Bil Repenning, my guest on the Photowalk today. Bill's somebody who's found photography in terms of a possible career a little later in life. Careful, Neil. And there's a real joy in hearing how he stepped into it with both feet, especially since an injury that has prevented him from pursuing his other love, music. The first half of our chat drifts through music. You will see why that matters, or hear. And I think you're about to hear me turn into a proper nostalgic kid as well. And then we start talking about the photographers who've shaped his path in the second part of our chat. Now, some of the names were new to me, but they've already got me digging a lot deeper, and I think they might for you too. And I dare say you're going to hear them on this show at some stage. So I thought I'd invite one of our extra milers to join us for this one, and that's Bill, to share the walk and the breeze and the conversation. Alongside Bill, I'll be sharing a brace of letters, some stories and thoughts that you've sent in about life and your adventures with a camera as we walk together. I'll peek into the mailbag then in a moment to see what is coming up, but before that, thank you to our community, our extra milers, as you're known, because your belief in this show, your desire to keep us walking together week after week is the absolute how and why of this podcast. Every week there's an extra show available through Patreon, and I'll be talking about that shortly, actually. Thank you also to our sponsor, arthelper.ai. They help you to sell your photos online by making the posts and the mock-ups and the marketing emails for you. Now, very soon there is going to be a Photowalk profile for you to see that I've been working with arthelper.ai on. But if you've ever thought, I would like to sell my work, but I don't know where to start, well, that's where arthelper.ai come in. They do the tricky bits for you. And they can write your marketing stuff, as I say. And they can make some mock-ups so that customers can see what your pictures might look like on their wall. And you get 30 days free with code Photowalk when you go to arthelper.ai if you're using the pro version. Right, on the show today, John Anderton has a story about his mum, Winnie. A story that has him documenting Winnie's life in a way we've talked about before, but one which I think after today, for some members in particular of this very special community that walk along with us, might be the direction or nudge you need to make your stories even more palpable. And Dominique Martel is having trouble keeping up with everything, suffering from something known as subscription guilt, or perhaps overload. It's a modern condition which you're about to learn about today. Plus, there's this month's one-word assignment set by Liza Gershman, and also a reminder of how to take part in The One. So, shall we walk? Let's get that checklist out. Coffee, check. Garibaldi's. Well, I've got to be honest, they'd run out down the supermarket. Surely not a shortage. I can't check that one off. Dog treats, yeah, that one's here, check. Walking boots, yeah, check. Spare film or an extra SD card, well I have the SD card, check. And your own sound recorder, which will make more sense in a moment. Can't check it yet, Neil, but I'm listening. Let's walk. The letters and messages you take your time to write in with shape this community. Your reflections on walking, about creativity, and why photography is important in your life gives us space to pause as we head out on this path together. So grab your boots and a camera, whether that box is a smartphone or top-of-the-range Lenshound Shutter Wiz 9000, you are more than welcome to join us. And if you're not really a photographer, don't worry. If you just like spending time with world-curious folk, then you'll fit right in. And I'd love to hear from you as well. The email address for the show is stories@photowalk.show. stories@photowalk.show. Now, this first letter is reasonably weighty, both in subject matter and length. But I know you'll go with me and John, who wrote it. Now, John is one of our very treasured, wonderful extra-milers who has been with us, I suspect, John, actually, since pretty much day dot on this show. And I've really enjoyed spending time with you personally as well in Scotland for the retreat. And, well, I'm thrilled you're joining us for the new look one in June next year, which I'll tell you more about later on. And when it comes to our Zoom meetups that we have once a month, John always, underline always, has something to share in our show and tell section where he talks about books and films and things he's heard, really just to help the community. And we're all appreciative of that, John. We really are. He has such a calm, reassuring, and I go as far to say, you'll have to hide behind the famous sofa of flattery now, I think he's a learned member of the community. He even has, this is a bit of an in-joke, but I think it works. I think you can imagine it. He even has a pair of Zen socks that help him make important decisions. Although, John, I think you said you recently lost them, or maybe they've got too many holes in them now. Maybe you should have washed them a couple of months back, perhaps a year. Anyway, by John, I mean John Anderton, yes. And I really do think, John, after all our adventures on this show together, that you've earned yourself a show moniker at last. Really, you should have had this quite a while ago. You're a thoughtful man, John, you are. So forthwith, you will be known as John Anderton, the contemplative canon of Calmshire. One of our longest titles yet, but I think you earned this one. Comes with a gown and a garter you can connect your Zen socks to. Hi, Neil, says John. Yes, I know I don't write often. I never send a card, never pick up the phone, all those things. Apologies. What you do, John, you join us in the Zoom. However, I wanted to get in touch and give you a few words of thanks. I don't know if this will send you diving for cover behind the sofa of flattery, but something you talked about has created a precious legacy for my family. A bold statement, so I should explain. You've told a story on the show at least a couple of times, and I think I remember you sharing it during the Scottish retreat last year when you ran the sound and audio sessions as part of the retreat. The story you told was moving and poignant, and it stayed with me. John, we have more sound coming this Scotland, but I'm changing it up slightly, so you'll have something new, don't fear. Anyway, he says, you relate the story of how, when your dad sadly passed away, the only recording you had of his voice was the message he recorded on the home telephone answering machine, one of those older devices that used to use cassettes. You tell of how you would call that number sometimes when you knew nobody was at home, so you could just hear your dad's voice. That was until your mum, bless her, recorded over the message. I know, John. I could not believe it either. Well, my mum is in the latter stages of dementia. We have heaven knows how many photographs of her, many of which have been taken by me recently as I've recorded her journey with this very cruel disease. Your story played over and over in my mind, and I started to make audio recordings of the conversations I have with Mum when I visit her at the care home. They're not interviews, just recordings of our chats, made using a couple of microphones linked to my phone. Sometimes, as is common with dementia, a degree of lucidity breaks through. Added to that, as is also true of dementia, the older memories tend to stick more securely. Incidentally, I must tell you the metaphor that was passed on to me during the recent training when I joined the National Trust as a reminiscence team volunteer. I'd not heard about this, John. Reminiscence team volunteers. What a super idea. We run sessions for for people living with the early stages of dementia, using photographs, artifacts, household objects, and memorabilia to encourage memories and conversation. Anyway, the metaphor is, slight spoiler alert, we've talked about this theory before, but it's obviously something that is taught and mentored around the country, possibly the world actually. Imagine, says John, the brain as a tall bookcase. On the bottom few shelves are the big books filled with those old memories from many, many moons ago. These books might be covered with dust, but they're heavy, substantial volumes. The top shelves contain smaller, newer books that hold more recent memories. They too contain important facts and information, but they're lighter and they're much higher up. And now imagine shaking this bookcase. Which books are going to fall off the shelves first and which ones will stay put? This, I think, describes very clearly how it's the more recent memories that a person with dementia loses first. Those lightweight books fall first, while those deep-rooted early memories, etched into those weighty tomes, fall last. So anyway, says John, I have similar chats with my mum using family photos. We keep a selection on a small notice board that I get down sometimes and talk about with her. The photograph that I've sent in, which I'll of course share on the show page today with John's blessing, is of Mum looking at these pictures. When she does this, there are moments when the dots join up for her and some precious memories return. She pauses and becomes contemplative, and there's clear delight when she recalls some details about names and places. I was able to capture one of those moments with this particular picture. Getting back though to recording audio, I also have recordings of Mum chatting during these times. If I had to make a choice, I think I'd save these recordings before the photographs, though of course they're all precious. Belts and braces style, I have lots of backups of the photos and audio files, including copies uploaded to cloud storage, so no chances taken there. You can see in the picture that my mum is wearing a lavalier microphone, which, if you don't know what one of those is, it's like the clip microphones that they put on ties for newscasters. She's always quite happy with this, and on one occasion said, "It's like I'm reading the news on the telly." So thank you, Neil. Your words of advice encouraged me to create a very small but very precious record of my mum's voice. From John. Well, John, when letters like yours arrive, and thank you so much for this, I am reminded that you never know who's listening or what story may land at the right time for somebody else, and I'm hoping that your story may well speak to somebody who's in a similar kind of situation at the moment, and that it might nudge in a way something that's going to be very important for them. It's humbling, and it truly is, that a few words shared on a walk in Scotland between us could spark something so meaningful to you. And I think the gift of your letter is to pass this forward to others. The message, that is, of sound and pictures. That's the quiet magic, I think, of this community, isn't it? Or maybe the loud magic of this community. We never quite know the difference we're making, but sometimes it's more than we'll ever realise. So thank you, John, for showing me that today. Now, there is another part to this story. I've read the letter exactly as John wrote it in, but John's mum passed a few weeks ago. So I I know that in many ways it adds a further resonance to this story. And so in a telephone call I made to John, he agreed to do a little recording with me for this week's Extra Mile, where he shares how he went about recording and documenting Mum's voice and the stories that she had during those moments he refers to as moments of lucidity. It's quite a buoyant chat, actually, and you can hear that on today's Extra Mile. John, all our love, sincerely, at this time. And though it's always hard to find what is commonly referred to as the right words at this moment, I do know this, that the gift you have in the pictures that you've made and the stories that you can now listen to is something very precious indeed for all of your family, you and all of your family. Do you mind if I share a little of our chat from the Extra Mile today? Because whether you are or not a member of that community, I thought it might be nice to hand the microphone to John for a second.
So my mum, actually in her room at the care home, the wall was absolutely covered with photographs. Yes, there were photographs of family members with names underneath them, but there were also photographs of sort of past addresses and places where we lived. I went out and photographed some of the locations where we lived, for example, and so we put those up on the wall, and it's just really just helps to sort of just stimulate. It helped to stimulate her mind. And I said, would you mind if I was to record some of the things that we're talking about? I didn't want to just, I was going to just walk up and clip a microphone onto Mum. You know, you need to, when someone's living with dementia, you need to afford them respect. So I said, would you mind, Mum, if I was to just put this onto your collar? And what is it? Well, it's a microphone, so I can record what you're saying. And she quite liked the idea of that. She said, I'm going to be famous then, aren't I?
That's John Anderton, and he will be on the Extra Mile today. Another thing, John, actually, the contemplative canon of Calmshire. I put you in charge of something in Photowalk Towers. I think you can. I think you're good for this. You now, sir, are in charge of floor 246, right up there in the clouds, for a very good reason. It is the floor of Zen. Just make sure the water features don't overflow onto the floor below. But you're now in charge of it, 246. I'll get a nameplate made up over the weekend. Send your stories to stories@photowalk.show, stories@photowalk.show. If you are sending in pictures, if you can resize them to 2,500 pixels wide, you are an absolute star. Let me just get another sketchbook picture as we walk this path. This is lovely. I've gone for portrait-orientated pictures today. The first one usually sets up the style for my walk. I like this. I'm going to underexpose. 16,000 shutter speed, really. F4, 160 ISO. The sun is reflecting in the canal in front of me. You can probably hear the water in a weir. And then there's these majestic, religious with a small R type clouds before me. There we go. These, are they low CB clouds? Anyway, there we go. Another picture for the sketchbook album of my pictures as we walk. As you heard at the start of today's show, it was a privilege to have a chat with another Extra Miler who is the focus of this week's interview part of the show, actually. Bil Repenning. A chat about life and photography, yes, but equally, thank you, Bill, for something you unwittingly did as well. You gave me a chance, as you'll find out during our conversation today, to dip back into my former life as a music broadcaster for a moment and talk about another creative love of my life, that being music. I don't create music. I leave that to other friends of mine. Second mention in the show for Malia the Trees, who's actually a decent musician as well. I did not know that about Mali, you might be saying. Well, yes, he is. But the gift that music brings to us is undoubtedly really, really important. So we have a chance to, you give me a chance to chat about that with you. Here's part one of two parts today, my conversation with Bil Repenning. As I look behind you, Bill, I can see that this is the classic American basement office stroke bedroom stroke utility room stroke
yes.
Everything else you can possibly fit beneath a house. We were talking about this on the Scottish retreat. I think actually with Kelly, who is our Canadian friend. But I think in Canada as well as America, basements are more it's the sort of thing you have, isn't it? Which we have in Victorian houses and some others in the UK, but it's not really a fixture. But for you, it is. Do many houses come without this mysterious room we know nothing about?
There are probably more houses with them than without them, but you do find some that don't have basements.
Right.
They're usually newer houses.
Kelly said that they were there because of the heating system. And directly over your left shoulder, there's the heating system.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's usually where they are, true.
I only equate that with having watched, what was it, Nightmare on Elm Street, where Freddy Krueger's heating system is downstairs. And
yes, exactly.
And Silence of the Lambs. My God, I think basements have scarred me.
Do you watch the movie A Christmas Story much in England? Is that popular in England?
A Christmas Story? Well, we have a Christmas Carol. What's a Christmas?
So this is a very American movie called A Christmas Story, about a young kid growing up, and all he wants for Christmas is a Red Ryder BB gun.
Right.
And he has a father who is constantly battling with the heating system in the basement, and he would go down in the basement. That's the only time he'd swear, is when he's down there dealing with the heating system and banging it and trying to make it work and all that sort of thing. So that's what I always think of when I do this, as I constantly battle our heating system.
Well, did he get what he wanted for Christmas or not?
He did finally, yes. It's a whole big story. I won't give it away, but it's hilarious. It's a very funny movie.
Okay, well, I'll look out for that one. I've not yet seen it on my Netflix.
Okay.
A note to self. But your basement looks like it's a hive of creative activity. That's Woodwork Central behind you, isn't it?
It tries to be, at least. Yeah. I started life as a musician and primarily a guitarist, and was also an audio engineer. And when I got out of it, I wanted a little bit of it, so I started making electric guitars, and I was passable at it. But my son came along, and he's actually exceptional at woodworking, and so he's pretty much taken over the woodworking shop at this point.
Are you making guitars from there then?
We have been, yes.
Wow. I mean, that's
We've got
highly skilled.
The last one that I attempted to make is still sitting here waiting for me to pay attention to it. So,
wow. So it turns out it starts out life as a rectangle by the looks of it. Or am I being daft?
Yes.
Right.
Nope, 100%. That's exactly right. Yeah.
How do you fashion it from there then? Because they're hollow, aren't they?
So you make a template, and then you cut it out on a bandsaw, and then finish it off with a router. And then you do all the good woodworking things to shape it to be exactly the way it's supposed to be, and cut out the holes for pickups and jacks and electronics and things like that. So,
well, excuse me for being, I'm probably asking a daft question now, but
not at all, no.
The size that you make it, surely that's got to make a difference to the sound of the. It can't just be the strings alone. Surely the size of the music.
That is a big debate in the music world.
Right. Okay.
Many people these days think that it's just the strings and your amplifier. But for people as old as me, we remember when Les Pauls and things like that were the bellwether of good tone. And so we believe that wood actually makes a difference. The shape and the wood actually makes a difference. And Paul Reed Smith, who makes very famous guitars, he has a lot of videos proving that wood makes a difference and things like that. It's a very fascinating thing. It all comes down to what sound are you looking for.
Yeah.
And modern guitarists don't look for that wood tone quite as much as older guitarists do.
See, this is sounding like a lesson in how to make fine whiskey.
It is very similar, actually. People make lots of distinctions.
There are some people that say it makes a huge difference the woods the casket is made from, as to what flavour it has. So that's the same with. So what makes what makes the best guitar noise then? In terms of wood, what is the holy grail of wood?
So I am kind of an egalitarian guitar maker or player, and it depends on what you want to play. So for jazz guitarists, oftentimes it's a heavier wood because it gives you that kind of human tone to the guitar. Right. So it's going to be mahogany, things like that. Often they also combine the mahogany with open guitars, they have air inside the body of the guitar, almost like an acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
That gives it that warm, jazzy tone that you hear often. And then for that classic rock kind of sound, everything from the Elton John era to or early 90s, you also want hard body guitars, but probably thinner guitars like a Fender rather than a Les Paul. And that's when we start getting things like maple and ash and lighter woods, because they want a little bit more articulate sound. Like Stevie Ray Vaughan would play almost exclusively Fenders, and so he would be playing more along the lines of alder or ash, so it's got a brighter tone to it. And these days, they do something even as light as a basswood or like a larch. Right. It's kind of like a larch. And that gets a very, very bright tone because they add all of the body to the guitar sound from their amps rather than from their guitar.
You might have to, if you've got a mahogany guitar, which is very heavy wood, you might have to be fairly fit to be able to charge around stage with it, because I am only saying I've got a completely daft left field example of this, but when I built my first ever disco unit, I made it out of a mahogany sideboard that I had butchered, that once belonged to Mum and Dad. But it was the heaviest thing, Bill, that you could ever. And Dad used to help me put it in the back of a Honda Civic of all cars. And and the car used to look like a dragster. I'm slightly over-egging it, but I'm telling you, once I put on the brass handles on the end, it was really, really heavy.
I bet, yeah.
Yeah, it never got pushed.
It's the same thing.
It never got pushed over. I can promise you that.
Okay. That's good. You made it good and wide, so it doesn't go over.
Yeah. This is the best built disco unit ever.
Perfect. We see a lot of guys that are older guitarists as they get older, and the famous ones, Dickie Betts, guys like that, would go back to Gibson, who made the Les Paul and was a big mahogany guitar, and they would ask them to what they call chamber it, which means they take the top off because it's a two-piece.
Yeah.
They take the top off, drill holes in the body of the mahogany, and then put the top back, glue the top back on so that it's lighter, but it still kind of has that same feel.
So in terms of playing then, you say you play. I was always told there were two instruments, if you could learn to play them, you'd never be on your own at a party. You'd always draw a crowd. One was piano, but lugging a piano around must be pretty difficult. Not even my dad with a Honda Civic would have been able to do that. But the other one is the guitar. Do you play piano as well? What one of the two would make you more popular at a party?
Oh, in America at least, it's hands down the guitar.
Yeah.
The guitar is what the cool kids always played.
Yeah.
Somehow I never ended up being cool, but I still played the guitar.
I think in parts of London, and it's going to sound very typical now, parts of East End London, it would have been the piano. Roll out the barrel and all those East End London songs that everybody would have been around a piano, which doesn't happen these days. But yeah, fascinating. Who would have believed I could have held a conversation about a guitar for more than 2 seconds? But
well done.
I feel like I've learned a bit, Bill. How come you're a Bill, by the way, with one L? What is all this about American one-L'd Bills?
It is kind of an American thing, isn't it? Yeah. There's several sports people that spell it with one L, but I didn't know that at the time. For me, it's a rock and roll thing. When I was a musician, I was sitting around. It was in high school, in fact, and I was sitting around one winter vacation. And I just thought, hey, how come we take words that have two consonants and split them between the consonants, but we don't do that for names? Yeah. And my given name is William. So I thought, I'll just start spelling it with one L because that'll be a cool rock and roll way to go. I was in my first gigging band at 14, so I needed something cool to sound like, when they introduce you on stage and that sort of thing. So that's what I thought that I would do.
What did your mum say?
She just rolled her eyes. She knew I was a lost cause from the beginning, so it's fine.
So I often ask this question: if you could, it's a sort of desert island discs question, but if you could spend some time around a table and invite guests to that table, and let's push photography aside for one moment. You can have whatever musicians. I'm guessing there'll be leading guitarists around that table, 3 of them plus you, and a good venison stew or whatever floats your boat. Who are you going to invite? Which 3?
That is a really tough thing to narrow down to 3, but I think I'm going to call an audible, and it's just that one of them is Freddie Mercury.
Yep.
Because I just don't know how you have a conversation with famous musicians without Freddie Mercury.
Yeah. Not necessarily guitarist then. So Freddie Mercury wasn't a guitarist. Or was he? No, he wasn't.
I mean, he played a little bit of guitar, but Brian May always made fun of him when he did it. So, So I think that I would want him there just because what a personality, absolute. Yeah. I mean, I don't know that we would have music that we have today without him. I would choose also Stevie Ray Vaughan because he was a huge influence. And the third spot, it's now I'm suddenly thinking of 12 guitarists that I would add to it, but it might be somebody like Wes Montgomery or somebody from the jazz days. Oh, it would be Charlie Christian. Yeah, 100%. It would be Charlie Christian from back in the bebop days, just because he created modern guitar, and nobody talks about him anymore.
Hang on, we got a bit of a problem because somebody's knocking on the door called Elton John.
Okay.
And he's saying, hang on, you mentioned me about, I don't know, 4 or 5 paragraphs back, I'm not around the table. What's the problem with me?
Well, if you give me 4, then maybe that would happen. No, honestly, when I was thinking of Freddie Mercury, I had in my head, I was like, oh, is it Elton John or is it Freddie Mercury? Because honestly, Elton John has done just about the same amount for music as Freddie did. So
yeah, I'm very lucky to have seen both play live.
So I remember you talking about seeing so amazing.
Freddie only once, Elton John a few times, but Freddie Mercury, I went to see, it was the first big rock concert I've been to. So excuse me if I'm telling this story again. But I went, my friend Alistair Parker, isn't it fun? I haven't seen him since school. I can still remember the name. It was his birthday, and he'd lobbied his parents that we were going to go to this big rock concert, and they'd said, I don't know, darling, it's huge. Can't we come in there with you? He said, no, it wouldn't be as cool. And my mum and dad said, oh, all right then. And so we went off to London, to Wembley, the old Wembley, and that's where Queen were playing. So, but there was a triple bill. It was Status Quo, because Alistair was quite into Status Quo. When we set up our band, I was given the job of being a drummer. I was a useless drummer. So no, we went no further. It was awful. And so there was Status Quo, and then Queen were headlining the bill, as you can imagine. I think Simple Minds were on there as well. I might be getting this confused with another, because I've seen Simple Minds. Is there a chance Simple Minds were on there as well? I mean, that would have been an ultimate festival, wouldn't it?
It would have been crazy, yeah.
But the band that were just before, in fact, no, they were the first band on. Status Quo was second, if not Simple Minds, to if they were there, to Queen.
Really?
The first band there was an Australian band, and we kept saying to each other, who is this Inks? Who's Inks?
Yes.
How do you even say the name? Inks.
Right.
In Excess. Wow, what a concert.
Yeah. That must have been absolutely amazing. Wow, that's crazy.
I
saw In Excess with Rush once. And I thought, this is a very strange pairing. And this was the same thing when In Excess was pretty new.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely astounding.
Yeah.
Absolutely astounding.
There was a bit, I don't know if you had this in the concert, where the lighting and the sound go together for me. So maybe it was the same experience that you had at that concert.
Absolutely,
because I think Rush put on a good show like that, didn't they?
They do, yeah.
And there was a point in it where Brian May and Freddie were right in the middle of the stage, and this huge bank of these, are they called par cans, these big lights?
Yeah.
I mean, there must have been about, I'm making this up now, but this is what it felt like to me, like 300 par cans each side, something like, just this huge bank of lighting came down in like a pincer movement, and it sort of moved down and around them, and it left, I mean, they must have got third-degree burns from these things.
That's amazing, yeah.
It was like, and I think it might have been the point where Brian May was playing a part of the national anthem or something. And Freddie was doing that big posturing that he does.
Yeah.
I looked at them and I thought, amazing. I want to be a rock star.
yeah, for sure.
What happened, Bill?
But you know, I don't know what even happened to me. But you were the sort of person in your previous career that we all really looked up to, because at least in the Seattle days, it was the broadcasters that we all really owed our career to, because it was back in the days when you got a record contract by going to your local your local radio station and saying, could you please play my cassette tape?
Yeah.
Sorry to everyone younger than 30, cassette tapes were this ancient method of music. But that's one thing that I always really enjoy about your stories, is hearing about your broadcasting days, because I remember how important radio was for everybody's career. Foo Fighters and Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Soundgarden and all the guys that I grew up with, they owe their start to broadcasters like you. So,
well, I'm very lucky to have worked in offices alongside people that really did make a difference with their mainstream shows, and also people like I apologise for audiences in other parts of the world that won't be familiar with these names, but there were broadcasters like Bob Harris, who was big on the country scene, and there was John Peel, who was a massive broadcaster and a huge influence in the UK. And I wouldn't say I ever broke records, but I was very fortunate to be in that position where pluggers, as they were called, would come and say, would you? And I always remember there was one in particular, I don't know if you remember this song, but a plugger called, I think it was Les, isn't it funny now? Les Malloy. The names are coming to me. I'm sure it's Les Malloy. Anyway, it doesn't matter. He came to the office and I was just about to go for lunch. I remember this. And he said, before you go for lunch, I want to sit you down and you have to listen to this cassette. And I said, I'm just about to go. Can we do this afternoon? No, he said, you have to listen now. And he played this song, and it featured Jocelyn Brown as vocals on it. And it was Incognito and Always There, which was a massive anthem in the UK. I don't know whether it was in America, but I suspect it
played. I don't think it was as big, but it played.
Yeah, I don't think. Sadly, it wasn't as big in the US, but it was big here. And I just remember listening to this song, and I listened over and over and over to that tape that night, all the way home as well in the car. There were exciting times, I think, when radio was able to do that. It's a bit more algorithmic now. In many senses. We sound like two old farts lamenting the loss of radio. But I was always driven, funnily enough, in the joint love-in here, it was American radio that inspired me. Because whilst British radio was doing what it did, the excitement for the DJs and broadcasters I worked with was really fostered from the big American radio stations you had that really had this character. Sometimes that was because of the broadcasters themselves, and sometimes that was because of these big jingles. I worked at a radio station here which labelled itself the Hot FM, and the only reason it did that was because there was a Hot FM, I think, in LA or something. They had this jingle that said, which I think we got from the American company, Jams or whatever it was, and this jingle was what was it? 96.9 FM. That's it. Tune in and rip the knob off. And
I remember that. And that's hilarious.
I think it's a big jingle that came from either one or many American stations.
Yeah, okay.
With this big, rasping American voice.
Yeah.
And
I spent a little time in the Hollywood area in the 80s. So if that was about right, that feels like when I remember hearing that in LA.
Yeah. Well, it formed.
That's pretty great.
Yeah, that jingle formed a part of my life. Sad that may seem.
That's awesome. Are you kidding me? Come on.
But yeah, so I was really driven by American radio. I loved it.
You know the broadcaster from it was the 70s and very early 80s. Or mid 80s, in fact. He called himself Dr. John. He was out of the San Francisco Bay Area. If you listen to the extended version of Starship's We Built This City.
Oh, is he the voice on that one?
He's the voice on that one. And he was always kind of, I guess, a hero to a lot of people because he was the type of broadcaster, or, in America, we always called them DJs, that was a part of the community. So you would hear him on the radio, and then you would be downtown San Francisco, right near like a soup kitchen or something. And Dr. John would be the guy who would be walking out and like giving people soup. Or he would be the guy that would volunteer his time at some charity event and that sort of thing. Like he was this great humanitarian as well as a broadcaster. Yeah. And he always struck me as like this really, like he was the bellwether of what we should all be in, the industry.
If you've never heard We Built This City by Starship, number one, myself and Bill know it, so we know. I can feel if I had. You're lucky to have hairs on your head still, Bill. Mine departed from platform 12 a long time ago. But if you don't know the song, you have to go and look it up because there's this very excitable bit. I can't remember. I've got to look up the words. Bear with me, Bill. That's it. The city by the bay, the city that rocks, and the city that never sleeps.
He would say that every day.
Was it? Was that what it?
Yeah.
Oh, it was his actual words. It wasn't something just built for the song. That is exactly what I mean by I was inspired by American DJs, because they seem to have this oomph that I couldn't find very easily on many stations in the BBC network. We were still doing fungal foot phone-ins. and Dr. John was talking about building cities.
Yeah.
Oh dear, we could get stuck on that all day. I love American
It'd be
radio.
fun.
I still do. I'm on my road trip across the US. That's either to come or would have been by the time this airs. I am hoping that Marissa doesn't mind that I want to play a lot of American radio.
Oh, he's so great. Well, and unfortunately, actually, some of the places you're going to be traveling through will still have good classic American radio in it, but a lot of places it's disappearing, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, the last time I was in America last year, I have to say there was quite a lot of networked shows, which weren't quite the same as I remember that excitement of the cities being. But there we go. Let's not get stuck on that. Although I could very easily, Bill. Very easily. I want to look at your photography work.
Thank you.
113photos.com in brackets just launched. This then must be this is your social photography. Is this now your career? What's your background?
Oh, my background is I started life as a musician, and then during the boom of the Seattle days, I turned into I ran a recording studio, was an audio engineer and producer of small stuff. I never did big stuff. I worked with a couple of names that people would know, but nothing of import, only one or two times. Yeah. But then I got married, decided I wanted to try a hand at being a normal guy. It never quite took, but I managed to get a normal job.
What is normal?
Well, I have no idea. That's the problem. Yeah. That's the problem that I have. So now, as I'm looking at having been in the tech industry for a lot of years, when I retire, I'm not the sort of person that I just don't want to do anything. I'm not going to go fishing or anything like that. Closest I'll do is go hiking. But I want some kind of what people are referring to as an encore career, which they think doesn't sound as offensive, but it still feels a little offensive to me. But I want that to be photography. So I've started this business, and this website is the beginning of it. I probably won't get it in full swing for a few years because I'm still learning. And the story with photography is that my dad was a paleontologist, and he worked for the U.S. Geological Survey, which is a branch of the U.S. government. And we would get National Geographic photographers in our house, like staying the night all the time.
Amazing.
Because they would come and they would have to ask permission to go take pictures in places that are government land. Yeah. And my dad somehow was in charge of that program. My dad was the Indiana Jones of paleontology. It's a whole long story that I won't go into now, maybe sometime when I come out to visit. But he got this job where he was the gatekeeper for people to have permission to take photos. Hang on
a moment. So your dad had power over national geophotographers?
I hadn't thought of it that way, but yes, and I'm quite sure that he enjoyed it. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Many geo stories are built on the back of your dad saying yes over a glass of whiskey, over a glass of good whiskey.
Bourbon. Yes. Bourbon was my dad's drink.
Yeah.
So he would bring these guys in, and I would look at, they would unroll their gear, and this was, in the 70s. So there was a lot of gear, many, many lenses, many, many bodies, many, many rolls of film that might be developed someday. And, I just was fascinated by it. And one time I got kind of excited about it, and I went and I grabbed a very recent National Geographic and brought it in. And I said, this is my favorite picture from this edition. And he said, that's my picture. And I went, that is amazing. Yeah. So I said to my family, I want a camera for Christmas. This is all that I want. Just get me that. And they bought me a Polaroid. And I said, I played with it for a little while, and I said, hey, how do I get my pictures to look like that National Geographic guy? And they said, oh, you can't with that camera.
Not with that.
I said, well, how do I get a camera like that? And they said, you can't. You're too young for that. And I said, can I borrow your camera? Because my dad had a very nice, talking to someone in England, Nikon. He had a very nice Nikon.
You can say Nikon if it makes you feel comfortable.
I love it either way. And he said, no, you can't do that. You can't use my camera because you'll break it. And so I was absolutely crestfallen. So time went on and I found music, and I kind of forgot about photography. But in the back of my head, it was always there. Every time there was a picture, I was thinking to myself, that's beautiful. Why doesn't everybody understand how beautiful photography is? 5 years ago, I slipped on some black ice and broke my wrist. And I've not been able to play guitar very well since. I can play maybe about 3 songs and then I just completely lose feeling in my left hand. And I was pretty down. I was pretty, I guess it's fair to say, depressed, because this thing that was the definition of my life for so long, other than my beautiful family, was gone. It was very clear that I was not really, if you can only play 3 songs, 2.5 songs, there's not much performance in you. And I suddenly one day, while I was sitting doing like I normally do, look at beautiful photographs and thinking how amazing this is, I thought, why don't I start photography again? So I started with the iPhone, and a good friend of mine who is a professional photographer one day showed up and said, hey, I want to show you something. And he showed me this Sony A7. It was the original one. And I said, oh, that's really cool. It's old, but, it still has a great look and, makes good photos. And he showed me this cool Nikkor lens that came with it and had this really cool arty view to it. And I was like, that is amazing. Maybe if I could save up, I can get something like that. And he said, this is yours. I said, what? And then he said, plus I have this whole lighting pack in my car that I'm going to bring in, and you can have that. And I thought, what is happening?
Bil Repenning is back shortly. My thanks, Bill, for your time. It's been I think a great opportunity, a grand opportunity, to bring you a member of our community and let you hear some of the fantastic members of our world that we have in the extra mile. Only a few weeks now to take part in our feature called The One. Cue the song. The idea is simple. You choose one photograph that you made this year, hence The One. Does exactly what it says on the tin. The one that means the most to you, and you share a short story about why it matters to you as well, if you can. It might be a shot that made you, as I said last week, made you laugh, maybe one that brought a tear, or a place that matters really deeply to you. Whatever it is, it's that picture you can't help but feel something for every single time you look at it. It doesn't have to be a perfect photograph, as we're finding with some of those pictures that are being sent in, where photographers have said it's probably not my technically best, but it is the one that matters. So if you'd like to take part, send one photo that you made in 2025 to stories@photowalk.show, along with a few words, please, if you can. Make it 2,500 pixels wide if you possibly can. Do not send pictures that are smaller than that. You can include a full link to your social or website. No borders, no watermarks, please. And it can be portrait or landscape orientated. All entries appear on the One show page, and 10 photographers will join the first show of 2026 to talk about their image. If you'd rather stay behind the lens, that's fine. Your picture can speak for itself. There is a closing date though, and that's Friday, December the 12th. Friday, December the 12th. Good luck. Looking forward to seeing what you have. So yes, good luck with The One. I've been looking through my 2025 archive catalogue. I've yet to choose my one, actually. There's been a few moments this year that have been really important. I do understand how choosing one can be a bit tricky. Quick plug for the assignment this month as well, since you have time to enter that too. This month is set by Liza Gershman, travel photographer, and she set the word grounded. It's always a one-word assignment. What does grounded mean to you? Grounded isn't necessarily about calm or stillness, though it can be. It can come from come on pups, this way. It can come from a muddy walk. Can I do this bit first? All right, hold on. Come over here. Hold that thought. We're grounded for a second. You're not displaying signs of groundedness at the moment. Patience can be grounded, can't it? A deep breath sometimes. Don't put your nose in the treats. Okay, there we go. It's practically breakfast, this. Captain Keith, our show dog trainer and wonderful extra miler, he'd say, don't give him that many treats. They're not. This is kibble disguised as treats. Don't tell him, though, whatever you do. Grounded, yes. Come on, pups. Enough now. Come on, this way. What else could it be? Steady routines? Oh, that sounds a bit corporate. Steady routines? Where did you get that from, Neil? Grounded. I think of grounded as just being at one with a place. I often feel very grounded walking along this path. I don't necessarily have to stop and put my Zen socks on or take my Zen socks off, but that could be grounded. Over to you. See what you think. Stories at photowalk.show for your entries. Full details on the website on that page and how to take part. Right, a letter. Here is one from Dominique Martel. And I do have, I think, some pertinent thoughts at the end. Pertinent thoughts, Neil? Are you sure? Yes, I do have some thoughts at the end. Dominique, thank you for your letter. Hi, Neil. When you started the Photowalk podcast, I began listening to it and enjoying it. Well, that's good news. And then at some point, I had subscribed to so many podcasts, I could barely listen to them all. I'm not quite sure, Dominique. I like where this is going. I started to treat them as a checkbox to check, an item from a to-do list I had to complete. Quick, I need to complete that podcast. After speaking to a friend, I realised I didn't really enjoy them anymore. And this was a bit daft. I was supposed to be liking these podcasts, to take the time to listen to them and enjoy them, relax, which I obviously wasn't doing anymore. So I decided to do some cleaning and unsubscribed to most of them. There's an air of finality to this letter. I found out I wasn't even listening to some of them. They were just there in case a good episode might just pop up. So I simply unsubscribed to most of the podcasts I was subscribed to and decided to keep only a few that I truly enjoyed listening to. Like yours. A sigh of relief, Dominique. The Photowalk and the Fujicast, actually, and a few others. Now, I take the time really to listen to the few podcasts in my curated list. And if I can't listen to all of it at once, I've decided to pause and continue later on and enjoy listening to it. I realise, Dominique, this may seem as I read your letter like it's a self-congratulatory hug, but I think you do make a good point there, and I'm very pleased and blessed that you've decided to keep the Photowalk and the Fujicast that I present with my good friend Kev Mullins as part of your podcast habit, as it were. You make a very, very good point about pausing and listening later on. And because the Photowalk is sometimes, well, often quite long, it's a long-tail podcast. And now and then I've dallianced with the idea of making it shorter. And then I thought, oh, isn't that beautiful? Listen to that. Don't stop. I bet you'll continue when I walk this way. But I've dallianced a few times of making it shorter. And then I thought, well, why am I making it shorter? Who am I doing that for? Am I doing it for the sort of algorithmic sense of shorter things are likely to draw larger crowds? And that's not the reason you make something. You make something because you truly believe in why you're making it. That goes for podcasts, as it does for photography, as it does for painting, as it does for any creative endeavour and beyond, really. It's insane, isn't it? Our lives are passing so quickly in this world. It's sometimes reflecting in our hobbies. We don't always take the time to relax and appreciate stuff. And we live at 100 miles an hour. Barney, you're really just subscribing to the 100 miles an hour thing. Can you possibly be patient until I have read the rest of this. Shush, stop. I know, stop. Just for a moment, thank you. Where were we? When I go for a walk, says Dominique, I try to relax. I say try because after 53 years of overthinking everything from parking spaces to the meaning of life, switching off isn't exactly my superpower. But I'm out there giving it a go. Thank you, Dominique Martel. Thank you, Dominique, for your letter, truly. I think you've just described what is commonly known as the modern condition, as I heard it described on radio the other day. And it's a very real thing, the modern condition. I hope I'm not writing my Jerry Maguire letter as you listen to me say this. But this very real thing that I've heard of is called subscription guilt. I read that one in an article. In terms of podcasts, you open up your app, see 50 unplayed episodes, staring back at you like disappointed dogs waiting for a treat, and suddenly you're stress listening to whatever your flavour is, true crime at double speed just to clear the queue. And I hate that double speed button. If you listen to this on double speed, you probably have a reason, I appreciate, but it's sort of, well, not sort of, that's $1 in the pot for a cliche. It is definitely how can I say this? That's not the way this podcast was designed. It's supposed to join us together, you and me, in nature, having a saunter and taking our time in doing so. And at double speed, sounding like Mickey Mouse, that's not quite the feeling I was looking for. But I do get it. The unsubscribe button, or however you do it, is a sort of self-help or self-care. And I'm so pleased the Photowalk made the cut in your curated list. I am genuinely honoured. Returning for the concluding part in a moment of my chat with Bil Repenning. First up, thank you to those who've signed up for Venice. We probably only have a few places left now, so let me tell you about another adventure next year that we're making. It's our new Scottish retreat in June, and my studio self will probably be best to share some details as we're now officially launching it. This coming June, the Photowalk retreat returns to Scotland for our 5th year. And while we're heading back to some famous landscapes we've grown to love, what we'll be doing there feels new. Senses is all about the ways photography connects to what we see and we hear and feel. You'll have the chance to make your own photogravure print. It's a proper hands-on process using copper plates and ink, where your photograph becomes a real physical piece of art. And you're making that art. For most, I reckon it'll be the only time in your life you get to produce your art in this fashion, a proper one-off. There's also a new creative writing workshop set in the forest, a refreshed sound session exploring how audio can deepen your storytelling, and plenty of time to walk and shoot and share wonderful, delicious evening meals with like-minded photographers at our base on the Black Isle near Inverness. All the details and the booking info are on the website, and places do go quickly. 5 years on, it still feels as exciting as the first. It truly does. Photography and friendship and adventure in one of the most beautiful corners of Scotland. So, my concluding part then of my chat with Bil Repenning, we get a touch more photographic in this part, and for anyone wondering about starting a career in photography, I think there's some thoughts that'll be of real interest. And stand by with your pens, because there are some names Bill's about to mention that I think, and I genuinely mean this, may change the way you look at your photography as an art. Having said that, we'll have full links on the show page as per usual. And then after Bil, you'll hear today's play-out song, a tune just to think about what's been said and talked about today, and something very dreamy actually from Amaryllis called Sail Away. Here's Bil Repenning, Part 2. So, Bill, we're at the part of the story where you described you fell on black ice, you broke your wrist, you couldn't be the professional musician you wanted to be, and a friend of yours, a professional photographer, turns up and gifts you some Sony equipment and some lighting equipment, and your life changes. And I'm interested now to know if this is, or is becoming rapidly, photography that is, your main career.
Well, it's going to be probably sometime in the next 5 to 10 years, depending on how well I can do with getting clients. I'm still working a full-time job while doing this as a part-time job.
And the full-time job being?
I'm a software engineering manager. Very boring.
Okay. No, well, software and IT often equate to photographers at some stage down the line.
True, isn't it?
Seems to me. There's a lot. I know a lot of people in software and IT that are actually really, really decent photographers. Neil Ford, who looks after the IT and make sure that I don't do anything too daft. He is a prime example of somebody in that industry that knows how to take a darn fine photograph. So this is a very exciting part of your life, then, isn't it? Really, this is where it all starts to change for all the joy and all the anxiety it brings at the same time. I was looking through your pictures, people, events, places. That seems to be. So you're going to be working in what's called the social photography field, aren't you?
I think so. Yeah.
I noticed. Not that I'm very good at this game, but I can sometimes be. On events, I might get this entirely wrong, but as I was looking down your pictures, I love, by the way, you were shooting through stuff in the bowling alley, but I was looking at the pictures of the bride and groom at a wedding venue, and I looked into the picture and I thought, that's not America, that's the UK.
No, yes it is.
Yeah, but I can't figure out what... I know that's the UK, and I think I've been to this venue, but I can't... Help me here, help me.
It is in the Peak District.
Yeah.
It's at a place called The Oaks.
Yes.
Okay.
And I haven't been there, haven't photographed there, but I know the name because I've seen colleagues of mine that have photographed there.
It is beautiful. Yeah. And my daughter, we are lucky enough that my daughter has married a fine Sheffield boy. Mm-hmm. And those are pictures that I took just 2 weeks ago.
Oh, that's your daughter's wedding.
And so we had a wedding here in the States, and they all came out here for that.
Yep.
And then we had a wedding in the UK, and we all went out there for that. It's a beautiful place. It's great for weddings.
Well, it's a lovely part of the world. So it's going to be, so people, events, places being, what sort of work do you think places will?
Well, I have often eschewed landscape photography because I just thought, that's just not my thing. I really love pictures with people in it. Portraiture is, people like Phil Sharp and Sean Tucker and guys like that have always been the thing I gravitate to. If I could just do portraits the rest of my life, I'd be very happy. So I never thought about landscape. But then I suddenly realized that here in Colorado, the thing that sells is landscape. And so I started taking some landscapes, and I'm at least passable as a landscape photographer. So the places is my effort to explore, can I actually take decent landscape photographies?
I would, if you can answer this question, I asked people like Thomas Heaton in the past, how do you make money out of landscape photography? It is phenomenally hard to do so. There are only a few that manage.
The thing that seems to be happening in the US and primarily in places like Colorado or the West Coast where people live amongst all of the beautiful landscapes is they buy prints. They still buy prints. And so you can make some money off of that.
I thought the print industry is different in America, clearly, to here. I will talk to a lot of landscape photographers in the UK that say it's tougher selling prints now. But well, good luck with this. I mean, it's a fantastic opportunity for the future, and I do hope that that your hand enables you. Is there any indication that the music may come back to the man?
I'm learning new ways to massage the nerves and things like that, and we'll see. We'll have to see. I still play as long as my hand will let me do it. I try and play every day. My son is also a musician, and he puts me to shame. He's amazing, but he inspires me to give it a try every day.
In my research, there was something that you'd written to me about, which was your morning routine. Your morning routine being how you inspire yourself through other people's work. And I feel genuinely flattered, if not a bit surprised, to be included as one of those in the list. And I want to go through this list and find out a bit more about those that do inspire you, because, I'll put some links on the show page, that's for sure, because it's always interesting to hear names and new names. But thank you for my mention. I am hiding behind the sofa of flattery, obviously. Barney joined me back there as well, because he thought you must be going back there with a bacon butty and not telling me. So thank you for the flattery there.
Thank you for the inspiration.
No, well, I was going to say my pleasure. Alex Harris. Alex Harris? Tell me about Alex Harris.
He is, I don't know a ton about him. He is an American photographer who is one of these guys that picked up a camera and it was an extension of himself immediately. And he, at a very young age, started taking what I guess you're referring to as social photography, basically being so good at capturing everyday life that people wanted to buy his photos for magazines and different publications, and eventually ended up having, his own showings and things like that. And his wife was also a photographer, as well as I think a graphic artist as well. So they made this very good bond. And so he did a lot of editorial work. If you look at his photos, your first thought is, well, that's an everyday moment. But then your second thought is, I've never in my life been a part of an everyday moment that is that beautiful. And you suddenly realize that there's something going on with the way he develops film and the way he composes things that is highly unique. Almost like Mickey Bloom, but with color. And Alex Harris's pictures make me feel like I have been a part of that scene for my entire life. It's very uncanny.
His black and white work is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah.
He's a very observational photographer. I know that sounds strange, because aren't all photographers observational, but not all observation is equal, if I'm making sense there. But I will leave a link to that, because that his work is great. I was drawn to the Mumbai 2017 stuff, not because I've been to Mumbai, because it's a place I want to go to. He really, for me, delivered what India feels like. This sort of the energy, the sound, the voice that India has. He captures it absolutely beautifully. I'll be sure to leave a link to that. Now, the next one on the list, I know this chap. It's a reasonable name to have on the list. Sean Tucker. I love Sean's work. I love Sean's approach. I'm in awe of, it's a word I don't use very often, in his ability just to be able to communicate his thoughts without having to write them down, and do it in a philosophical way that you can understand, that's approachable. And Sean is very good at doing that. And maybe that's because of the background that he has of coming out of the church in South Africa and being asked to preach. But his stuff now isn't preachy. He subsequently left the church formally. But his stuff isn't preachy. And I think his YouTube films are a masterclass in storytelling.
I think so too. I always come away with the feeling that every word out of his mouth is one that he's thought over previously. It's just, he has such a depth to the things that he says. Well, not unlike yourself, actually, especially with the extra mile stuff. I think there's something in photographers that we know there's something more going on in life. And it's sometimes not enough to observe it. Sometimes you have to say something about it. And words, sound, all amplify that thing that we're trying to get at with our photography.
I love his work. I love his films, and his photography is superb. The work that he made in Namibia, I'm pretty sure that at some stage I've talked to him about that work, and he said something along the lines of, well, that's not my best work. I'm sorry, Sean, if I'm getting this wrong, but I feel that he said something along the lines of, that's not my strongest, or something like that. And I look at it and I think, well, there's a body of work I'd be delighted to be associated with. Really.
I think that's part of his appeal too, is that he, while being a master of sorts, though I guess he wouldn't say he was, being able to see that he still struggles like the rest of us is intoxicating. It really is amazing. To many of the people that you talk to are people who we would consider to be masters, and yet they are still with us. They still take the walk with us of becoming better than they are, and that's a great community to belong to,
I think it's a very difficult balancing act to get right, authenticity and honesty. Because if you look at YouTube in particular, I devour YouTube in all its forms. And I often watch films of people I think, you don't sound real. It's not authentic. You can tell them. Yeah. I think that balancing act, that balancing line of being able to share and show vulnerability, but for that vulnerability to be a real thing. Is something that he's most certainly been able to commentate about.
Yeah.
Because I believe him. It helps to know him, but I do believe him. Phil Sharp, tell me about Phil.
Yes, Phil, trying not to be angry. He lives out by Tottenham Stadium. If you're not a fan, I know that can be contentious. My daughter's new in-laws, I can't talk about them in their house. They're still waiting for Sheffield United to come back.
I'm an Arsenal fan, so
okay. Well, there you have it.
Talking about Tottenham Hotspur has always been a bit tricky. Having said that, my family support both teams, so is
that right?
We're a very weird breed. We're whites and reds there, definitely.
The children always disappoint us. I don't know what to say.
Anyway, sorry, Phil Sharp.
Phil has this amazing voice. I think I've heard you refer to it before that way. And he gets the most tack-sharp focus surrounded by the most non-bokeh compression blurriness. That's the only way I can think of to say it with his photos. It's almost in defiance of bokeh and fervently compression instead of bokeh. But somehow, in the way that he does, if you're not familiar with the way he does things, he does all-day sessions with his sitters. And the purpose for that is so that the first hour or so can be uncomfortable.
I bet it would be. Yeah.
And then when they begin to be comfortable with a camera in front of them, not necessarily even him, but with a camera in front of him, then he says the real work starts happening, because they start understanding that it's in the stillness that the deepness comes, rather than trying to put on airs or trying to, mimic something that you think the camera wants to see. So he has one picture of an actress, Grace Cooper Milton, that is astounding. And it actually happened when Sean Tucker was filming his piece about Phil Sharp. So Sean Tucker witnessed this happen.
Oh, so he saw that picture being made.
They had been going at it for hours, and she's a brilliant actress. Yeah. So she is very comfortable in front of the camera. But Phil plays music the entire time. He's taking photos, much like Dan Winter does. Yeah. And a Nina Simone song came on, who is she's unbelievable musician from the 60s and 70s in America. And lots of human rights activism in her music. And this one particular song came on that Grace loves, and she began to cry because the song was one of her favorite songs, if not her favorite song, I think is what Sean said. And instead of shying away from that moment, she leaned into it, and they captured this picture. And it's going to, I believe it's going to be in the National Portrait Gallery now.
One of the most beautiful portraits I think I've seen of humanity.
Precisely, of humanity, yes. And if we could all take one picture like that so that the world could see the better part of humanity, I think things would be a lot better.
Was that picture part of a day's work as per Phil's usual style? Was Grace with him for a whole day, or because I know that and I know that not all actors. Well, you mentioned the word comfort. I know not all actors would be comfortable with that, and not all would grace you that privilege anyway.
Yeah, how did Sean put? Sean puts it beautifully in his documentary about Phil. That was done in the normal course of events that Phil normally does shoot. Yeah. But because Grace was comfortable with the camera and understood what they were trying to do in that session, it came out that way, because Phil talks about how it's a partnership with the sitter.
Yeah.
And if you look at his site and you look at all of the pictures that he does, the portraits that he does, you can tell that there is sort of a cohabitation of the space between himself, his camera, and the sitter. And they work together collegiately to make whatever it is that comes out, and which I think is a beautiful way to do it.
Without doubt. There is a phrase which I very much apply myself to. It's taken me a few adult years to come around to this, but what's the point of having a mind if you can't change it?
Is beautiful.
Which I definitely subscribe to. Is not my... It's not something I've said. I think it's actually from one of my favourite broadcasters, a chap on LBC called James O'Brien. But the relevance of that is that for a long, long time, I was not a great fan of Steve Coogan, the actor. Not that he would have cared 1 inch, I'm sure. But as the years have gone by and I've seen his work, and more latterly, he played the part of a man whose name I don't even want to say on this podcast, because he was one of the most disgusting, despicable people on this planet, who was once adored by people. So if you've worked out who I mean by that, fine, but I'm not going to say that monster's name. But Steve Coogan played him impeccably. I'm choosing my words very carefully now. He was scary because he became him for this movie. Wow. From that moment onwards, I thought, Steve Coogan, I've watched stuff back now, and I utterly adore his acting. And I utterly adore the pictures that Phil Sharp made of him, because there's, if you could call it a diptych, I suppose, not in the classic sense of it, but there's 2 pictures there. On the left-hand side one, Steve looks a lot older than I think of him, and he looks very, very troubled. And on the right-hand one, there's the Steve Coogan that I think we know, this sort of this congenial joker. And I think those 2 pictures put together, there's a juxtaposition about them, and equally the way they're made, that focal thing that you talk about. Again, just like Grace's pictures, these are beautiful.
Yeah, they really are.
There's not much more you can say about that.
Yeah, I'm struggling to find anything better to say.
Jason Vinson, rescue me. Why Jason?
He is an American now. One of the few Americans that I follow. I don't know why, but I love all the British photographers. But Jason has this approach of it's almost like interactive Jackson Pollock photography. Like, he just is in the moment when he does weddings. He will be climbing architecture or looking for ways to get a different angle that no one else would ever think of. Yeah. And he uses, he's using constant light now, but he's kind of famous for his flash photography. Right. But he will use it to say, okay, this may not be the most ideal place, but let's make an ideal picture from this not ideal place. So he'll completely darken everything and use only the light that he gets from his whatever lighting apparatus he's using, and creates these beautiful pictures that to me are the proof that you don't have to be. I'm a great lover of beautiful photographs that look exactly the same as they did through the viewfinder. Yeah. However, he's proof that doesn't always have to be the case. You can make honest, humble, beautiful pictures while still almost painting things with light.
He makes, looking at his photographs, which I've done since you sent me that list, he makes me wonder why I didn't go into family photography and take it more seriously, because...
Isn't that amazing what he does with families just as documentary?
Yeah. Which is a really good way of segueing into the final name on your list. A photographer who at certain stages has said yes to me, and for an interview.
Oh, that's right.
And then she's gone away, and then I've said, well, what about doing that thing? And she said, yeah, we must do that. It's great. Let's do a time. And then it's gone away. And I think it's become an inexorable search, if I can get those words out, or perhaps an adventure to get her onto the show. Her name is Nikki Boone, and her work is just incredible.
Yeah. So the little bit that I know of her lifestyle, because I keep getting stuck on her pictures without learning about her personally, but she basically picked up a camera to start documenting life, and her family became the number one tool, the number one life that she is documenting. And she creates these pictures, not just with her family, but outside world as well, that again, make you feel like you are present and that you know these people. But it's in a way that is stark and absolutely beautiful in its starkness. I feel like few people can use starkness as a tool in a way that's beautiful, and she has this ability to do it. It's kind of, almost Georgia O'Keeffe and Diana Arbus all in one place. It's kind of amazing. I don't know quite even how to ingest what she does,
I remember when she still has the words here. The website, by the way, it looks like it hasn't been had any tender loving care for a while now.
Yeah.
So I don't know where she is in her adventure, and I haven't spoken to her for a number of years. I grew up barefoot and free to roam on a large farm in Bay of Plenty with memories that I strive to replicate for my children. So driven by some fabulous names there. So if you had to pick, okay, you're going to pick one name out of that. We talked about the table. I've made the table much, much smaller, that you're only allowed to have one of those round for dinner with you.
So, that is much smaller.
Table for two. Who's going to be the person that sits opposite?
Okay.
And I know you're not allowed to anyway, but you can't choose me. Blah 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 blah.
That's what I was just trying to decide.
Let's just get
how big the couch is. Let's get big enough for a table of two.
Let's get that awkwardness out the way, because you and me are going to meet when you come over to the UK next time. Anyway, right?
Good. Yes. Okay. If we're not dealing with the couch, then
look at this, Alex Harris, Sean Tucker, Phil Sharp, Jason Vincent, Nikki Boone.
So here's the deal. I will not say Alex Harris because there's a chance that since I'm in America, I might run across him. I didn't put Dan Winter on the list, but he is also an inspiration, and he's another American, so I can do that. So it's going to be either Phil Sharp or Sean Tucker for two different reasons. Phil Sharp, just because I just would love to live inside his mind for a while. And Sean, because I've had similar experiences to he has in his life. And the idea of having a conversation about photography with someone who is not the same as me, but also has had similar experiences is a bit too intoxicating. So I think I would have to pick Sean.
You know what you should have done? You should have picked that day that Sean was making the film of Phil Sharp.
Wouldn't that have been amazing? That would have been maybe if they do it again. Next time I fly into Heathrow, I'll send a text to both of them and see if I can arrange it.
Right, you're going to have to face the question that I ask everybody at the end. And you may have already thought about this, I don't know. I have got to a stage now with some guests who've listened to a couple of episodes, and they've said, and they've been expecting it, and they've been ready for me. I don't know whether you are, but what is your why?
I don't know how ready I am, but I will do you one better. If you go to my website, this sounds like I'm some kind of famous and good photographer.
So I'm going to 113photos.com.
And if you go to the About page,
I'm there now.
There is a quote from Ralph Hattersley.
Oh, yes.
Who's a photographer that I don't have any idea who knows him and who doesn't. But I specifically put this page together with your question in mind.
Oh.
And the very last quote from Ralph is, "We are making photographs to understand what our lives mean to us." And when I saw that quote, I thought that could not describe my why any better.
You say you don't know where you go. So come, the wind in your hair, birds keep flying away, away, away. Ooh, lost in your memories of hope. Lost fingers in your hand keep sailing away, away, away. Ooh, lost in your world. Ooh, memories of home. Ooh, lost in your world. Ooh, looking for home. Lost in your world. Ooh, memories of hope. Ooh, lost in your world. Ooh, looking for home. Ooh, lost in your world. Memories of home. Lost in your world. Looking for home.
That's Amaryllis and Sail Away. Beautiful, very dreamy song. It's wonderful sunshine today on this photo walk. Oh, my thanks, Bil Repenning. Sorry, manners, Neil, manners. Manners maketh the podcaster, so the expression never went. Yes, thank you, Bill. It was an absolute pleasure to talk with you. It really was, especially in that we were able to reminisce as well about one of my favourite subjects, just for a short while, American radio. Very, very nostalgic. Should we let's make a last picture of our photo walk, a sketchbook photograph. Are you going in there, pups? Go on. Go on, in you go. He loves water when he's in it, but there's this sort of, I don't know, just pop my paw in it just a little bit, is it too deep? Go on, in you go, it's shallow. Suit yourself. Let's make a sketchbook photograph. Back along the path. Look, here come the swans. I love photographing swans, but they're really miserable to Barney. And he doesn't. Actually, it's not even really. He doesn't bother them. But they have a real attitude. F4, 1400 shutter speed, ISO 160. There we go. Another sketchbook photograph from the day. Shall we go this way? Come on, pups. Come on, this way. That's it for today. If you can't wait until next Friday and want to walk a little bit further together, then that's what the Extra Mile edition is all about. We're up to number 164. And today, the full half-hour chat with John Anderton, possibly a few minutes more, actually, talking about memories, actually, sound and legacy. It's a very personal conversation. And that's what we're featuring on the Extra Mile. If you are a supporter of the show, thank you so much. You will find it on your on your app, or indeed through the podcast player. I know, pups. I'm telling them. But if you'd like to join the community, then you can do so by going to the website photowalk.show and clicking the orangey yellow button in the top right-hand corner that says support the show. Just a few closing thoughts before the PS. My sincere thanks to you if you are or you're about to become an Extra Miler. We'll keep building this wonderful community of kindness in this photographic and walking world together, a safe place to share our thoughts about this thing that we do, photographing and walking. Hello, Swan. I'm not going to stop and photograph you because that will mean Barney will be right next to me and you'll start hissing. Come on, pups, this way. Come on. Come. Good boy. You know what they say about what's the ugly duckling story? Pups? I sometimes think the ugly duckling that wanted to turn into a swan, I think the ugly duckling had it right all along. He had a much nicer temperament. A few mentions for those who smooth the voyage for us on this show. My thanks sincerely to Neil Ford, who looks after IT. He can help you too. There's a link for IT on the website page now, in case you need some help in that part of your life. Everybody needs a Neil, is what I say, and I don't necessarily mean me. In fact, I don't mean me. I mean the NEIL version. He's also helping at the moment with a very special book project we are about to announce in time for Crimbles. My thanks to Andrea Gilpin, who keeps a watchful eye over Instagram, as does Kelly Mitchell for Facebook, to Kelvin Brown, who's at the helm of the Flickr group, and to Michael Brennan, who compiles the music of this show onto a Spotify playlist. So if you like what you hear, and that includes the instrumentals we play here and there as well, then you can listen to that. A postscript for the show. Right, there are suggestions actually today from our friend Gavin Perry. If you've got a postscript that you think we should feature, I'd love to hear from you. It's fun choosing them and selecting them and finding them and researching them. But if you have some that you live by, let me know. We're going to start with, because you've sent two, and I'm going to use both, with perfection is achieved not when there is nothing more to add, but when there is nothing left to take away. Anton de Saint-Exupéry, who was a French writer, poet, and also pioneering aviator. And then this one, which I like very much, probably because I've always admired the idea of making something intricate or complicated feel less so, maybe effortless, from Leonardo da Vinci, who said, "Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication." Come on, pups, this way. Bacon butty time. Don't tell Keith. Whatever you do, come on, this way.
What's there to hold in the light of this moon? My mind keeps searching, but my heart decides. Thoughts can be cruel, they're not mine to hold. The space unravels when you let go.
The Photowalk is a Loading Zone production.